Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about the CSIR UGC NET Life Sciences Unit 1, that is the molecules and their interaction relevant to the biology. इस यूनिट के पहले टॉपिक की बात करते हैं, that is the structure of atom, molecules and chemical bonding. स्टार्ट करते हैं एटम्स के साथ में. एटम्स, these are the smallest element which have their independent existence. The mass of the atom concentrated in its nucleus in the form of proton and neutron, while the electron revolves around the nucleus in outer orbits. The mass of electron, it is 1 upon 1840th time of the mass of proton or neutron, or we can say it is negligible. Atomic number, it is simply the number of protons. It is used as an identity of atom. In atom, the number of proton remain equal to the number of electron, but these electrons, they are used in bonding. Next is the atomic mass. It is the number of proton plus the number of neutrons. If we take an example, or if we denote an atom with A, सबस्क्रिप्ट में आप एटॉमिक नंबर लिखेंगे और सुपरस्क्रिप्ट में आप लिखेंगे एटॉमिक मास को. सो एटॉमिक नंबर, इट इज सिंपली द नंबर ऑफ प्रोटॉन, while atomic mass is the number of proton plus the number of neutron. If we take another example, for example, the hydrogen atom 1H1. Here the number of proton is 1, that is the atomic number, and there is no neutron, or the number of neutron is 0. We can say that the hydrogen is the only atom which do not have neutron. Next is the isotopes. Isotopes, they have identical position in the periodic tables. Then that means that they have similar number of protons, or in other words we can say they have similar atomic number, but the number of neutrons are different. For example, again we are taking the example of hydrogen atom. There is 1H1, 1H2, 1H3. Here the atomic number is 1, number of proton is 1, number of neutron is 0. Here the number of proton is 1, number of neutron is also 1. Here the number of proton is 1, the number of neutron is 2. So the number of proton or the atomic number is same, but they are having different number of neutrons. So these are known as the isotopes of hydrogen. Next is the radioactivity. If in atom the proton number is equal to the number of neutron, in this condition the nucleus is highly stable. But if the number of proton is not equal to the number of neutron, the nucleus is highly unstable. And this nucleus, it will degenerate in the form of alpha, beta and gamma radiation, which is known as radioactivity. So we can say that the radioactivity is the property of unstable nucleus. Atoms in the biological system बात करें तो मैक्सिमम अमाउंट रहता है ऑक्सीजन का, दैट इज फॉलोड बाय द हाइड्रोजन, कार्बन, नाइट्रोजन, कैल्शियम, फॉस्फोरस एंड सो ऑन. अगर बात करें अर्थ क्रस्ट की तो वहां पे कंपोजिशन रहता है मैक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑक्सीजन फॉलोड बाय सिलिकॉन, एल्यूमिनियम, आयरन, कैल्शियम एंड सो ऑन. So the composition of biological system is not similar to the composition of earth crust. Why? Because the life was not originated. So the question is why the composition is not same? The answer is life was not originated on the earth's surface. The life was originated in the deep sea vents और उस टाइम पे वहां पे जो कंपाउंड या एटम्स अवेलेबल थे उन्हीं को यूज करते हुए लाइफ का फॉर्मेशन हुआ है. इसीलिए बायोलॉजिकल कंपोजिशन इट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द अर्थ कंपोजिशन. नेक्स्ट इज द मॉलिक्यूल. द एटम्स they bound by certain types of bonds and give rise to molecule. These bonds they can be broadly classified into three types, that is the ionic bond, covalent bond and the non-covalent bonds. First we talk about the ionic bonds. Ionic bonds, these are the strongest bond. They form between the electronegative and electropositive atom. Electropositive atom means they are having the electron leaving tendency, while the electronegative atom it is having the electron acceptance tendency. These bonds are generally formed when an electropositive atom transfer their electron to the electronegative atom. For example, the NaCl. NaCl, the sodium, it is having partial positive because it is a electropositive atom, while the chlorine is having partial negative charge, it is electronegative atom. Bond is formed when the sodium transfers its electron to the chlorine. So it is the example of ionic bond. Next, the bond energy in ionic bond is called as the lattice energy. Another type of energy here is the hydration energy. Hydration energy, the ionic compounds or the ionic bonds, they are water soluble. They are water soluble and they makes the water conductance of electricity, means they will act like a electrolyte. Simply, these are water soluble, and when you dissolve any ionic bond or compound in water, it will give rise the ions which makes the water charged. So the energy which is released when an ionic compound is solubilized in water is called as the hydration energy. So there are two types of energy, one is lattice, another is hydration energy. If the lattice energy is greater than the hydration energy, under these circumstances, the ionic compound will not get solubilized in the water. For example, the calcium phosphate. Now, another concept here is the concept of hydration shell. Hydration shell. Now, what is hydration shell? As we know that the ionic compounds are soluble in the water and they will give rise to ions. Now, the water molecule, it will form a shell around these ions and do not allow the interaction of these ions again. So in aqueous solution or in water, the formation of ionic bond is not possible. This is why the pure ionic bonds are not possible in the biological system. What is the reason? The reason is in biological system there is 70 to 80% of water or the environment is aqueous, that do not allow the formation of ionic bonds. Second thing, the strength of the ionic bond is denoted by F, that is equivalent to the Q1 Q2 upon RD. Here Q1 and Q2, it is the electronegativity of the two atoms involved in the ionic bond formation. R is the distance between the two atoms involved in bonding, while the D is dielectric constant. It is dielectric constant. And in case of water, the dielectric constant value is 80, which do not allows the formation of ionic bonds. While in case of air, the value of D is only 1, that allows the formation of ionic bonds. So this is all about the ionic bonds. Next is the covalent bond. As we know, as we stated that the pure ionic bonds are not possible in the biological system. So in biological system, the most strongest bond is the covalent bond. Covalent bonds, they are formed by the sharing of electrons between the two atoms. They are of two types, that is polar covalent bond and non-polar covalent bond. In case of the polar covalent bond, the electronegativity of the two atoms involved in the formation of covalent bond is not same, but the difference is not too much that they can form the ionic bond. The best example of polar covalent bond is again the water molecule. So the oxygen, it is having the partial negative charge, while the hydrogen is having the partial positive charge. So it is having the polarity, like it is having the plus and minus end. That's why it is called as the polar covalent bond. While if we talk about the non-polar covalent bond, here the electronegativity of the two atoms which are involved in the bonding are same. If we talk about the examples of non-polar covalent bond, there is H2, there is O2, and there is N2. H2, it is having a single covalent bond. Oxygen is having the double covalent bond, while the nitrogen is having the 3 covalent bonds. The strength की अगर बात करें अपन, तो मैक्सिमम जो स्ट्रेंथ होती है वो होती है ट्रिपल कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड फॉलोड बाय डबल एंड फॉलोड बाय सिंगल कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड. Second thing, the H2O, it is a polar, while the CO2 is not polar, is non-polar. Why? Because in case of the CO2, the resultant force is 0. Why? Because both of these oxygen atoms, they pull the electron towards themselves, and the resultant force here, it is 0. That's why there is no polarity. Similarly, if we talk about the examples of covalent bond in biological system, there are many examples. First is the glycosidic bond. The glycosidic bonds again are of two types, we can say, that is O glycosidic bond and N glycosidic bond. If the glycosidic bond is formed between the sugar and sugar molecule, then it is called as the O glycosidic bond, and if it is formed between the sugar and non-sugar molecule, then it is known as the N glycosidic bond. So there are two types of glycosidic bond. Next is the peptide bond. It is formed between the amino acids that leads to the formation of a polypeptide. Next is the phosphodiester bond. It is found in case of nucleic acids. जिसके बारे में आगे और बात करेंगे अपन. Ester bonds, which is found in case of lipids. As we all know that the lipids, these are the ester of fatty acid and polyhydroxy alcohol. तो ग्लिसरॉल और फैटी एसिड्स के बीच में जो बॉन्ड होता है वो होता है एस्टर बॉन्ड, एंड इट इज ए टाइप ऑफ कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड. सो दीज आर द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड इन द बायोलॉजिकल सिस्टम. नेक्स्ट द नॉन कोवेलेंट बॉन्ड. इसके अंदर जो बॉन्ड्स रखे हैं वो है हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स, हाइड्रोफोबिक इंटरेक्शंस, आयनिक इंटरेक्शंस एंड van der Waals forces. So this is the third category of bonds, that is the non covalent bond. इसके अंदर चार तरीके के बॉन्ड्स आते हैं. स्टार्ट करते हैं बात अपन हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स के साथ में. The hydrogen bonds, they are generally formed between the two electronegative atoms. They are formed between the two electronegative atoms, in which one will act as the hydrogen donor while the other will act as the hydrogen acceptor. Like A, it is an atom and it is sharing the hydrogen with atom B. So there is a sharing of hydrogen between the two atoms leads to the formation of hydrogen bonds, and both of these atoms, they are electronegative. Now second thing is that the H bonding is a directional bonding. It is a directional bonding. Means if the H donor, H acceptor and the H atom, if they all remain present in a single plane, in that condition the bond is strongest. The bond is strongest and the bond energy is highest. So it is a directional bonding, that is the H bonding. एग्जाम्पल की अगर बात करें अपन तो फिर से एग्जाम्पल अपन ले सकते हैं H2O का. So the water molecule, it can, one water molecule can form, theoretically it can form 4 H bonds, बट प्रैक्टिकली नॉट पॉसिबल. क्यों पॉसिबल नहीं है बात करेंगे आगे. सो ये आपका कोई वाटर का मॉलिक्यूल है. ये एट ए टाइम 4 हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स बना सकता है. कैसे बात करते हैं. इस तरीके से. So one water molecule, it is able to form 4 hydrogen bonds, but often not possible because the hydrogen bonds, they belongs to the category of non-covalent bond. These are not the strong bonds, and the water also have sufficient thermal energy to break these H bonds. So practical bonds which are possible is only 3. Okay. If we talk about the examples of these hydrogen bonds in the biological system, then the bonds which are found between the nitrogenous bases are hydrogen bond, like adenine thymine, there is double hydrogen bond, and guanine cytosine, there is triple hydrogen bond. Similarly, they also provide stability to the protein secondary structure. जो प्रोटीन के सेकेंडरी स्ट्रक्चर हैं उनको भी स्टेबलाइजेशन जो प्रोवाइड करते हैं वो हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड करते हैं, लाइक अल्फा हेलिक्स एंड बीटा शीट्स. ये स्ट्रक्चर भी स्टेबलाइज करते हैं हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स. नेक्स्ट बात करते हैं अपन हाइड्रोफोबिक इंटरेक्शन की. when the non-polar molecule is solubilized in the polar solution gather the thing which are insoluble in it. So if we drop some non-polar molecule in the water will gather the thing which are non-soluble in it, and this is called as the hydrophobic interactions. So the hydrophobic interaction, it is not the property of molecule, it is the property of water, due to which it gathers the thing that are not solubilized in them. So it is the property of water, we can say. Second thing is that if a non-polar molecule, if we drop a non-polar molecule in water, suppose if we drop some oil in the water, क्या होगा देख सकते हैं अपन. ये ऑयल ड्रॉपलेट्स हैं, कुछ टाइम के बाद में the water will gather these things due to the hydrophobic interaction. What is the reason behind this? The reason is the entropy. The reason behind this is the entropy, that is delta S. If the entropy it is increasing, the system is energetically favorable and the process is spontaneous. And the system is energetically favorable. If the entropy simply is the measurement of disorderness. If the entropy it is decreasing, then the system it is non-spontaneous and it is energetically unfavorable. So when you drops the oil droplet in the water, then the water molecules they have to come in a ordered form to pass through these oil droplets. So the entropy of the system it is decreasing. So to increase the entropy, water क्या करेगा? It will gather these things and will increase the entropy. Disorderness will be increased. So this is the property of water, we can say, that is the hydrophobic interaction. If we talk about the example of hydrophobic interaction in the biological system, the best example is the lipid bilayer. Lipid bilayer, as we all know, that it is having a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. It is a hydrophilic or water loving head and there is a hydrophobic tail. So molecule which is having both hydrophilic and hydrophobic end, it is called as the amphipathic molecule. Now when these amphipathic molecules are dissolved in the aqueous solution, they will self-assemble in the form of a bilayer. तो ये bilayer का formation कर देते हैं, क्योंकि इनका जो water loving side है वो H2O की तरफ चला जाता है और जो hydrophobic end है वो अंदर की तरफ assemble हो जाता है. So this bilayer formation in the aqueous solution of biological system is due to the hydrophobic interactions. Next is the ionic interaction, that is also known as the electrostatic forces. These are the electrostatic forces. These are found between the molecule which have partial positive and partial negative charge. For example, the DNA and histone. As we all know that the DNA is partially negative charge due to the presence of phosphoric acid, while due to the presence of certain basic amino acids, the histone are partially positive charged. So the interaction between the DNA and histone, it is the ionic interaction. So these interaction also plays an important role in the molecular रिकॉग्निशन एंड प्रोटीन स्ट्रक्चर्स, जिसके बारे में अपन आगे बात करेंगे. नेक्स्ट type of bonds are the van der Waals forces. Van der Waals, when the molecule cannot bound by any type of bonding, the force by which it gets stabilized is called as the van der Waals forces. Now, van der Waals forces, they are not a driving force. These are not the driving force. अब driving force क्या होते हैं? Which is responsible for bringing the two molecules in close proximity. But the van der Waals forces, they are not the driving force, means they are not responsible for bringing the two molecules in close proximity. But if the two molecules are in close proximity, they will provide the further stability. Now, the van der Waals forces, they are due to the formation of a transient dipole. There is a formation of transient dipole. क्या होता है बात करते हैं. सपोज कीजिए कोई एटम है, न्यूट्रॉन प्रोटॉन इन द न्यूक्लियस एंड इलेक्ट्रॉन इन द आउटर ऑर्बिट्स. सिमिलरली यहां पे एक दूसरा एटम है. Now, when the two atoms are in close proximity due to any other forces, then there is a formation of a transient dipole between them, between the outer shell electron and the nucleus. Now, the maximum van der Waals forces is at the VCD, that is the van der Waals contact distance. अगर इससे नजदीक और लाएंगे इन एटम्स को तो रिपल्शन स्टार्ट हो जाएगा ड्यू टू द रिपल्शन बिटवीन दीज repulsion between the nucleus of these atoms. So the maximum जो van der Waals forces रहेगा वो रहेगा at the VCD, that is the van der Waals contact distance. Next thing, जो एग्जाम्पल इसका देख सकते हैं बेस्ट. अच्छा, इससे पहले एक स्टेटमेंट और दे देते हैं कि together the van der Waals forces are more stronger than even the strongest ionic bonds. Why? अपन देखते हैं, इसका एग्जांपल अपन देख सकते हैं कि लेबोरेटरीज के अंदर कई बार क्या होता है, दो स्लाइड्स के बीच में एक वाटर की स्लाइम लेयर बनने की वजह से वो स्लाइड्स अलग नहीं हो पाती है. अगर उन स्लाइड्स को आप खींच करके अलग करना चाहेंगे तो स्लाइड्स कभी अलग नहीं होंगी, बिकॉज टुगेदर द van der Waals forces आर मोर स्ट्रॉन्गर देन द आयोनिक बॉन्ड्स. बट अगर आप एक एक करके बॉन्ड को तोड़ेंगे तो दोनों स्लाइड्स अलग हो जाएंगी. सो दिस इज द बेस्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ van der Waals interaction or van der Waals forces. So this is all about the chemical bonding, atoms and molecule structure. Thank you.